Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I've done this over on my other channel, but I've decided, to basically condense this to the main channel. So yeah, I'm gonna be redoing it on this channel, putting it on this. I'm gonna be talking about a few things. I'll be talking about the horror movies and the past 2 decades, should I say? Also, I'll be talking about the Chucky TV series, but I'll be saving that to the end. We have 7 episodes so far. Yeah, I'll get to that. The review of the episodes, and then I'll do the final sometime next week. I'll wrap up the series next week. Basically, what I want to talk about is some of the movies that I've seen, and just yesterday seen. I will be having the top 10 movies of this year that I've seen. I may do it before I go see Spider-Man, or I may not. I'm not sure yet. So look for that later this week. If I do decide to see it, do that before the weekend, or, we'll see. So let's get started. Alright, so I grew up early 80s, late 90s. As Chucky started coming out, the original Chucky movie started coming out, in the late 80s, the late horror movies. I mean, I used to be afraid of them when I was a kid. And then, like, around the late 90s, 2000s, I started watching them again and realizing, that they're not so well. The late 2000s, mostly around 2000, and I would say about 2005 is when they kind of started to suck and not scare me that much. Especially the movies that came out over the past 4 years, such as, Conjuring and the Resident Evil series, uh, the paranormal activities, Unfriended, such movies like that actually really, you know, basically killed everything. And the Halloween series, going back to 2018, and then Hollywood Kills, which was released this year. back in October. I'll get to that when I get to the Halloween. So, like I said, early 80s, 90s, growing up, I used to be afraid of, Child's Play 1, Child's Play 2, and 3. I used to be afraid of Chucky. So much that I'm going to tell you a story I told on that's my little dog. Alright, so come here, girl, and introduce yourself. Alright, so let me get on with that story. I used to have my buddy. Now, so it's enough. Here, introduce yourself. I don't know if you can see her. Come here, so. Come here. Come here, baby. She's shy. Hi. Except when there's people around, then, she turns into Miss Barkington. What is it? Oh yeah, my buddy. You know, and I kind of got rid of it, but that's not the story I want to tell. The story I want to tell is that my mom had this doll, this life size, probably about 2 to 3 feet high doll that she got from my grandma. My great grandma. Sorry, her grandma. So one day I was home alone, waiting for my brother to get home from school. I don't know what I was doing. I think I was watching some sport or something, or playing a game or something. And then I started looking, and this creepy doll, it was giving me the creeps. Again, this was probably after See the Bride, one of them, watching that. And remember, it was like around 2000. Let me do something real quick. She doesn't keep. Alright, so I just had to shut the window so she doesn't keep barking. So I was playing a game. I think it was Resident Evil. It was one of those games. I think on the PlayStation. Like I said, I was just fresh out of high school. I was about 18 at the time. um, waiting for my brother to get home from school. Uh, it was after I seen Jason X or Jason Space. I don't know. And then, I mean, I was laughing, or Halloween, whatever it was. Um, I was laughing, and then I played some games, and this doll, this female doll that, kind of like Chucky. Again, I say it's about 3 feet. Um, at this time, I was basically, half and half scared, half like, fuck it. So basically, let me continue before I get sidetracked and don't remember what I was talking about. So, uh, I was having trouble with this game, so I got frustrated, and this dog kept creeping me out. So, I got up and I punched it. Because I was frustrated at the game, and I broke the face. Yeah, my mom got mad, but I told her, it was creeping me out, and I kind of got frustrated. All right, so that ends that. Now let's get on to what this video is really about. I brought up some of the movies that I've seen over the past 4 years that actually were supposed to be scary, but they weren't. Let's start with the Unfriended. Now, if you don't know what Unfriended 1 and 2 are really about, it's basically Unfriended was that this girl was getting bullied at school by a couple mean kids. And so this was a time like, when like Facebook and Skype and all that were big, and it mostly was about them talking and get the picture of this, they bullied this girl. They were like showing pictures of her, and they bullied her so much that she killed herself. So basically, you know, this demon, this ghost, or whatever, one day went on their Skype call, should I say, and started killing them one by one. And they were like all freaked out, and basically, it was just them talking, and it was a bunch of jump scares. And Unfriended 2 was basically, the same thing, but on the darker side. Um, about the dark webs. That's basically the Unfriended series. I know. I see. I was working when Unfriended 2 came out. I worked for a theater. I'm not gonna name the name. I was basically, you know, uh, I had got seen Unfriended 2 before. I just got done watching Hotel Transylvania 3. Um, but I still had some time to kill before they could come get me. So I went to see Unfriended 2 again. I fell asleep, basically. That's how boring this movie was and is. I mean, the Unfriended series, I know when they first started, they were hyping it, but again, I mean, it was supposed to be the next big horror movie, like, what was the one with the footage? I forgot what it was. I forgot what that one was called, with just the footage. Well, because that was dumb too. Um, so then, now let's get to The Conjuring. Now, The Conjuring is supposed to be a real, based on true events. You had Conjuring 2, you had Annabelle, you had, yeah, Conjuring 2 is gonna be in the movie that's talk about later when I've seen this year. You had The Nun, uh, what else was there? Um, I mean, again, not as scary. There was just a lot of jump scares in that, and basically, I mean, you know, again, it was basically a PG-13. That's what it's rated, and you know, some of these movies, these rated R movies, they got rated down, watered down. I'll get into that when I get into the Halloween part. Um, you know, The Nun. Let's look at The Nun. Now they say that The Nun was supposed. It was rated R. It was supposed to be the scariest in the series. Um, but I mean, really, again, a lot of jump scares in Nun. I mean, there wasn't really that much blood. And that's the thing about the movies this year. I mean, over the past 4 years. There's killing, but it's mostly, off screen. Some a little bit. I mean, you look at it as well. The last two reboots of it haven't really been. I've seen them both, and basically, again, just a lot of jump scares. Um, Look at Paranormal Activity, same thing, a bunch of jump scares. Um, you know, not that much blood. Now, before I get into the Halloween series, um, let's talk about, the and why I think, the PG-13 horror movies killed the horror movies. Again, I understand, you know, why some of these horror movies have gone PG-13, because of, the school shootings, stabbings, uh, that's been going on. I understand that. Um, but come on, if you're gonna water down the horror movies, at least, I said this before, don't say it's the scariest movie in the series. If you're gonna do a PG-13 and then, just fill it with jump scares. And that's what kills the scary movie business, the horror. That you go into the movie thinking, oh, you're gonna get scared. That's how I seen Resident Evil yesterday. And I wasn't really a fan of the Resident Evil movies or the game a little bit. So I wasn't really expecting much, and I wasn't disappointed. I got what I knew I was gonna get, and that was basically nothing that much. And I'll go into depth with that when I do my movies of the year. Um, so let's get back to what this is basically about, horror. And I know, like I said, Conjuring was supposed to be basically on real events. I mean, it does it at certain points, but it's not scary. I mean, it's just not scary. Uh, Same thing with Paranormal Activity, just a bunch of, you know, jump scares. And like I said, jump scares have basically ruined the horror movies, because honestly, this generation, these, what do they call them? um, what are they called? Newborns or whatever. They're a bunch of pussies. Honestly. Um, Baby boomers, should I say. Generation A is a bunch of baby boomers. Uh, it's not as scary as they used to be. This series. The first one back in 73, 75. Now, it was okay, but I mean, it could have been more on his backstory. I mean, they got a little bit into the backstory, but if you're gonna wait at least 20 years to actually do a direct sequel, you don't need to get into the backstory. Why wait that long to get into the backstory when you could have done his backstory in the very first one and then, continued that, and then at least 4 years later, with the one that just came out, Halloween Kills, you get into the full backstory. At least that's like 33 years later. And why? Why do you, why are they doing that when again you could have at least gone from the original where you could have done most of the backstory, then you could have gone to direct sequel, finished that backstory, and then continued it with the third one. Continued the story with the third one, and then with the last one coming up next year or so, finish that off with everything. I mean, that's the thing. And the same thing goes with Chucky in the TV shows, in the movie. Now, honestly, the TV show is basically Chucky's backstory and trying to introduce the newer cast, but again, they're mixing 30 years of something that they should have done 30 years ago. Now, don't get me wrong, this TV show is awesome. I like what they did. They're trying to give Chucky some kind of humor, some father kind of type figure to the new cast before he kills people, and they're telling how he became a killer. But yet again, they could have done it 30 years ago. Why wait? And another thing about this series, I mean, don't get me wrong. I have my views on, but I'm not going to get into that because it's not my place. Now, and they're trying to make this series more, well, say LGBT friendly. Then, and focus on that, and then focusing on the horror aspect of Chucky, which, I mean, I get it, but again, if you get into the backstory of Chucky, and in the movie, the first three movies, you portray Chucky to be this killer doll, and then in this series, the original Chucky, you're going over his backstory, how he became a killer, but then yet again, you're also going with this new cast that is basically you're focusing on LGBT, which again I really don't want to get into because I'm not, I really don't want to get into that. I do like the series, and basically, I mean, I can't wait for the season finale. I want to see when all this shit goes down. So yeah, um, look for that next week, where I will be getting into what I liked about the season or the series. We'll see if they. I hope they don't cancel after one season. Um, Again, I'll see that. So yeah, that's my horror thing. Thanks for joining me again. I'm not sure if I'm going to do the top 10 this weekend, or I may wait. So if you see a top 10 um, movies of this year this weekend, uh, then that would mean, I would be reviewing Spider-Man on its own if I decide to see it. So yeah.